What can you really say and not say? What can you really do and not do? What are you required to do, not required to do when you're in labor? Well, we're going to talk about all this today, okay? Hey, y'all, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're diving into something I know is a huge question for many of you, and that's patient rights in a hospital setting, especially if you're aiming for a med-free or a natural birth, as we would call it. So let's unpack this so that you can walk into your birth experience feeling empowered and fully informed, okay? It's all about keeping your voice, feeling safe, and knowing exactly where you stand. So here's the thing. Many women don't just know their rights when they step into a hospital to give birth. And when we don't know, then it's easy to feel like we don't have a leg to stand on. Unfortunately, this lack of awareness often leads to feeling powerless or like we're at the mercy of the system, right? And so I want to change that because knowing your rights can abolish fear and give you a solid foundation for a confident birth experience. To understand where these rights come from, we're going to talk about a big document called the Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR, okay? The CFR covers everything from healthcare to business regulations. And I'm in this code a lot with my businesses. And so that's actually years ago how I figured out and discovered that, oh, by the way, all of these Bill of Rights are coming from somewhere. Where are they coming from, these patient rights? And it's coming from the CFRE. Okay. And so there's a part of it. It's Title 42, Chapter 482, Section 13. And that lays out specific patient rights. And so the brief rundown of it is that you can participate in your care plan and you have the right to be part of creating your care plan. You're not just a passenger in this process, but you have a voice in that. Okay. You have the right to make informed decisions. So you get to hear all the benefits, all the risks, and all the options, and you get to make decisions based on the full picture that they give you. You have the right to refuse treatment. If something doesn't sit right with you, or if it goes against your birth plan, or you don't like the options that they're giving you, you have the right to say no. You have the right not to be restrained, right? Freedom from restraints and coercion. You're protected from restraints or anything used just for convenience if it doesn't serve you or your birth experience. It's not necessary. You can say no to that. If you have heard my birth stories, that's one of the points that I had to argue in my first and my second birth, was that I wasn't going to be laying down in the bed. I wasn't going to be restrained with monitors on my stomach, that I was going to be up and going to be mobile. Okay. So these are your rights, plain and simple. And they're backed by a federal regulation code. So you don't have to just take anyone's word for it. It's there, written in stone, so to speak, right? And honestly, the more you know, the more empowered that you're going to feel, okay? So the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, AAPS, they also have a patient bill of rights. This is where their information comes from. This is why they have it in their patient bill of rights. And the highlights are, from that specific one, is that choosing your provider. You can seek out a provider that aligns with your vision. Informed consent. They're talking about that again. You should have a clear understanding of any treatment or intervention, its risks, and any possible alternatives. This empowers you to make the best choices for your situation. You have control in decision making. Ultimately, your voice is the central voice in any decision about your care. In a birthing context, these rights mean you can labor in a position that feels right for you. You can decline unnecessary interventions. You can ask for alternatives like mobile monitoring, staying active, if that's part of your plan. It's all about choice. It's all about informed consent. It's all about autonomy. Okay. So, how does this play out in the real world? Imagine you're laboring in the hospital and they suggest something that doesn't align with your birth plan. You have the right to speak up and say, actually, I prefer if we could do this instead. These rights give you the freedom to move, to request alternatives, to make decisions based on what feels best to you and your baby. And so the one thing that I want to stress here, these rights aren't an invitation to be confrontational. You still have to use relational intelligence. You're choosing to birth in their facility. So you're choosing an avenue of managed care. Let's put that into perspective. Okay. You're there for some reason, you feel safer there, or, maybe you didn't have the money for a home birth and the insurance is better there. I don't know what your situation is, but you're there for a reason. You're choosing managed care for a reason. Understand that it is managed care. You're in a facility and they do have procedures that they follow. But procedures, hear me when I say this, procedures do not override your rights. It's all about finding a respectful balance where you feel heard, supported, and in control of your birthing experience. Knowing your rights is the foundation, right? For how you want to move forward in your birth experience, but it's not the only thing. You'll also want to think about different kinds of support. You'll want to have an advocate, whether that's your partner or a friend or a doula. Make sure you have someone who understands your wishes and can speak up for you if needed in any situation. So practice self-advocacy. Think about what standing up for yourself really might look like in the moment. Okay, so this is like role playing. Being prepared helps make advocating for your needs feel a lot less intimidating. Birth can really feel overwhelming at times. So having a support system in place to remind you of your rights and to remind you of what you want, and then to help you stand by them, can make a big difference. So I hope that helps give you a clearer picture of your rights during a hospital birth. And again, these aren't just ideas. They're legal protections that allow you to make the best decisions for you and your baby. You have to take everything into account. You have to take your health history. I don't know your health history. You have to take the baby's health into account. You have to be aware of everything and take everything into account, but know that you have the absolute right. It's legal protections to speak up and advocate for what you want for your best birth experience. Okay. So I would recommend you take a few minutes, you read up on these. If you can, don't hesitate to ask me questions. You absolutely deserve to feel informed and confident as you step into this amazing experience with God at the center. And so I want you to feel that and know that not only should you know the wants and desires and the ideas for various things, but you should know that you have legal rights in that, legal protections where you can stand up for your rights. Okay. Again, taking everything into consideration. And if there are any health issues, be sure that you're well versed in that and that you're aware of any ramifications based on your choices. Okay. So, thanks for tuning in today. This was probably a little bit of a heavier topic to talk about because I want you to understand the gravity of it, that you do have rights, you do have a voice, you do have a way to advocate and to speak up, and that is protected legally. But you also have to understand you're in a managed care facility, so be respectful there, and you have to take any health concerns into consideration. Okay, so I love you. Feel free to reach out with any questions, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.